Today we will visit New York, the state with the third largest population in the U.S., to see how people grow crops and raise livestock here. When mentioning New York State, people often think of New York City with a population of 8.47 million people located in the southeast of the state. This is the most populous and most modern city in America. But don't forget that New York is also a state that thrives on agriculture. Even though agricultural land only makes up about 20% of the state's land area, or nearly 7 million acres. Currently, New York owns more than 33,600 farms and 753 farmers markets across the state. The activities of these farms are mainly growing fruits, vegetables, and raising livestock. In addition, the dairy industry is an important industry. "34% of farms in New York today are concentrated in the Finger Lakes region. This is considered the agricultural center of the state. We're visiting a dairy farm in Wyoming County, located in western New York. Currently, about 150 dairy cows are grazing freely on the grasslands. Every morning, they are released from the cage and allowed to walk freely for about 3 hours. The weight of a cow like this depends a lot on the breed. Adult males weigh 1,100 to 3,900 pounds, and females weigh 850 to 2,400 pounds. In a day, a cow can eat from 25,000 to 30,000 pieces of grass. After eating their fill, the cows are moved to the covered barn area. Because of the cold weather, this herd spends 3/4 of their lives living in indoor barns. Here they are fed 7 to 15 pounds of grain a day. New York State currently has more than 3,500 dairy farms. In 2020, the state's dairy cow population stood at 625,000 cows. These cows are raised for the main purpose of milk production or processing into byproducts, such as cheese and yogurt. Now we're looking at how New York farmers milk 800 cows in 3.5 hours. Most dairy cows are milked 2 to 3 times in the morning and evening. On average, a cow will produce 6 to 7 gallons of milk per day. After milking, cow's milk is immediately transported to a factory about 5 kilometers from the farm to be processed into bottled milk. Milk is sterilized using specialized equipment. Then, the milk is poured into bottles. Finally, it is packaged and exported to the market. Currently, the dairy industry creates nearly 26,000 jobs in New York State. Every year, New York State produces 15,540 million pounds of milk. Did you know that New York is the country's 4th largest milk producer and the country's largest producer of yogurt and cheese? Chances are the cartons of milk you drink every day are produced in New York State. To support its dairy industry, New York produces a variety of field crops. Corn, soybeans, and wheat are the most widely grown. You are visiting a cornfield in Otsego County, New York State. Corn is the state's main crop with 1,040,000 acres planted annually. making New York the 17th largest state in the United States in corn acreage. It is now late April, and farmers have started using seed drills to plant corn. On 1 acre of land, between 22,000 and 35,000 individual plants can be grown. Corn is planted in rows 30 inches apart. This is how farmers harvest corn kernels on this 134-acre farm. The man is trying to move the machine across the corn rows. With the help of modern combines, a group of 5 farmers can harvest about 7,200 bushels of corn in 1 hour. In New York, sweet corn is not too popular. Instead, farmers grow corn for grain or make corn silage to feed dairy cows. New York is ranked 3rd in corn silage output with a value of $311 million. Corn accounts for 60% of the feed for dairy cows in New York. In addition to its thriving dairy industry, New York State is also famous for its apples. This is the 2nd largest apple growing state in the U.S., only after Washington. So our next destination is a 154-acre apple field in the Hudson Valley, a major apple-producing region in the state. It's September. The green apple harvest season has begun. The fruit is ripe after 130 to 150 days of flowering. There are about 10 workers, including men and women. They are picking green apples in a special way. That is, to use a modern machine, go along the apple bed and separate the fruit from the branch. In this way, they collected about 17,500 apples in 3 hours. It's true, 90% of the apples you see in the supermarket are picked by hand. The farmer would place it in the palm of his hand, lift it up, and then gently twist it until it fell off. Each year, New York State's 700 apple orchards produce nearly 600,000 tons of apples. Apples were chosen as the state fruit in 1976. Besides apples, grapes are the 2nd most important fruit crop in New York State. Now we're going to a grape farm in the village of Naples, New York, to see how people produce millions of bunches of grapes. In total, about 35,000 acres of farmland in New York are used to grow grapes. 80% of these grapes are grown for wine production. New York is the 3rd largest wine-producing state in the U.S., behind only California and Washington. It's around October, the perfect time to harvest grapes in New York. Grape farmers will divide into groups, each group of about 5 to 6 people sitting in a specialized vehicle. They harvest each bunch of grapes by hand, then load them into barrels and take them to the gathering place. A group of 6 people can pick 6 to 8 tons of grapes in a morning. The selling price of these grape bunches can be up to $140 to $150 per ton. Saying goodbye to the fruit fields of western New York State, we go to a farm in the Ballston Lake area to see how farmers produce millions of tons of peas here. Peas were one of the first crops grown and harvested in New York. In fact, the state has a long history of processed bean production, with an average acreage of 17,689 acres. In New York, farmers sow pea seeds outdoors in early to mid-April. Peas are typically grown in fields ranging from 20 to 100 acres. November is when peas are harvested in New York. The man is operating the machine to pick peas completely. Within 1 hour, this person can harvest up to 17,800 pounds of peas. Once harvested, New York peas are often processed into frozen peas. At the factory, the peas are cleaned, blanched, and cooled. Next, they are frozen on a freezer conveyor. People use -35 degrees Celsius cold air blown through the conveyor belt to help the beans be completely frozen. New York farms today employ 55,363 people. They produce some of the world's best foods and beverages, such as grape juice, apple juice, frozen nuts, cheese, and yogurt. How do you feel about the way people in New York State produce agriculture? Please comment below this video. At this point, the journey to explore agriculture in New York State has ended. Goodbye and see you again.